Two generals, one secret weapon, but who truly held command? History credits the wrong man. The real power remained hidden behind closed doors. One man selected Oppenheimer. Another secured billions without revealing why. But only one could stop the bombs. The truth reveals an unexpected chain of command. Before we dive in, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. Takes command in September 1942. In September 1942, the United States faced a terrifying reality. Enemy forces were developing unstoppable weapons. America needed a leader who could build something the world had never seen. That's when Major General Leslie Groves stepped into the shadows. He was handed a mission so secret, even Congress didn't know its true purpose. Groves didn't just accept orders, he took full control. From day one, he commanded every decision, every move, every risk. This wasn't a shared leadership, this was one man's operation. He oversaw the project from its very beginning to the moment the bombs were finally used. While others gave speeches, Groves built the weapon in silence. But here's what most people miss. Groves wasn't chosen because he was the smartest general. He was chosen because he knew how to get impossible things done fast. And what he did next changed everything. So who really gave him this power? Who handed Groves this ultimate authority? Oversight of facilities across America. Groves didn't work from a single office. He controlled a secret empire spread across the entire country. 3 massive locations operated under his direct command: Los Alamos in New Mexico, Oak Ridge in Tennessee, and Hanford in Washington. Each site had a specific deadly purpose. Los Alamos was where scientists designed the bomb itself. Oak Ridge focused on enriching uranium, the fuel that would create the explosion. Hanford produced plutonium, another key element for the weapon. Groves managed all of them at once. He coordinated construction efforts, hired tens of thousands of workers, and made sure no one talked. These weren't small projects, they were entire hidden cities built in total secrecy. Workers didn't even know what they were building. Groves kept every detail locked down. He traveled between sites constantly, solving problems before they became disasters. But controlling these facilities was only part of his job. The real challenge, he needed something most generals could never get. What did Groves need that no one else could access? Resource management and AAA priority. Groves needed materials, and he needed them immediately. But during wartime, every general wanted supplies for their own operations. So Groves did something bold. He secured the highest emergency procurement priority ever given, a AAA rating. This meant the Manhattan Project came before everything else. If Groves needed steel, uranium, or equipment, he got it first. Other military projects had to wait. This wasn't just paperwork, it was raw power. With AAA priority, Groves obtained uranium ore from secret mines and secured rare materials from around the world. He moved resources faster than anyone thought possible. Without this priority, the project would have taken years longer, maybe too long. Groves understood that speed was survival. Every delay gave the enemy more time to build their own weapon. He pushed suppliers, demanded results, and never accepted excuses. But having materials wasn't enough. Groves still faced the biggest problem of all. He needed the smartest minds in the world to make this weapon work. How did Groves find the right scientists?
Scientific leadership and selecting Oppenheimer. This is where Groves made his most controversial decision. He personally selected J. Robert Oppenheimer to lead the Los Alamos laboratory. Most military leaders didn't trust Oppenheimer. He had connections to controversial political groups. Security officials warned Groves repeatedly. But Groves saw something others missed. Oppenheimer was brilliant, and he could lead scientists who wouldn't listen to anyone else. So Groves ignored the warnings and gave Oppenheimer full control of the science. It was a massive gamble. Under Oppenheimer's leadership, thousands of scientists and workers came together in the desert. They solved impossible problems. They tested theories no one had proven before. Groves didn't interfere with the science. He trusted Oppenheimer completely, but he watched everything closely. Groves coordinated scientists, engineers, and military staff across the entire project. He made sure everyone had what they needed. And when tensions rose, Groves stepped in. But choosing Oppenheimer created another huge risk, one that could have destroyed everything. What dangerous threat did Groves have to stop? Security and intelligence operations. Groves knew the enemy was watching. Spies could be anywhere. One leaked secret could hand the weapon to the other side. So Groves implemented security measures stricter than anything the military had ever seen. Workers were watched constantly. Mail was read. Phone calls were monitored. Even scientists couldn't talk freely about their own research. Groves divided information into compartments. No one knew the full picture except him. He also launched intelligence operations overseas. Operation Alsos was his secret mission to track Germany's nuclear program. Groves sent teams into enemy territory to gather information and capture German scientists. He needed to know how close the enemy was to building their own bomb. If Germany finished first, the war was lost. Groves directed every intelligence move personally. He reviewed reports, adjusted strategies, and made sure America stayed ahead. But while Groves controlled the ground, someone else held power at the very top. Who had authority over Groves himself? Marshall's role in the top policy group. General George C. Marshall wasn't building bombs, he was shaping the entire war. As Army Chief of Staff, Marshall had authority over every major military operation, including the Manhattan Project. But his control was different. Marshall sat on President Roosevelt's top policy group, a select committee with ultimate oversight of the atomic program. This group made decisions Groves couldn't make alone. They decided funding levels, security protocols, and whether the project would even continue. Marshall provided high-level military authority and political backing. Without him, the project would have been shut down. But Marshall never got involved in daily operations. He trusted Groves to handle the details. Marshall's real job was protecting the project from Congress, military rivals, and anyone who asked too many questions. And that leads to one of the most shocking parts of this story: how Marshall secured billions of dollars without telling anyone what it was for. Funding, authority, and delegation to Groves. Marshall faced an impossible task. He had to ask Congress for billions of dollars without explaining why. Lawmakers demanded answers, they wanted details, but Marshall and Secretary of War Henry L. Stimson refused to give them. They only said the project was critical to winning the war. Congress had to trust them blindly, and somehow it worked. Marshall secured the funding, but he knew he couldn't manage the project himself. He needed someone who could turn money and resources into results fast. That's why he chose Groves. Marshall had watched Groves build the Pentagon in record time. He knew Groves was a doer, not a talker, so Marshall delegated full management responsibility to him. Groves reported to Marshall, but Marshall rarely interfered. He gave Groves the freedom to act without constant approval. This trust was crucial. It allowed Groves to move quickly and make bold decisions. But when the bombs were finally ready, Marshall had one last critical role to play. What final decision did only Marshall have the power to make?
Final decisions and halting the bombing. The bombs were ready. Japan refused to surrender. President Truman faced the hardest decision in history. Marshall was right there, offering military advice at the highest level. He discussed strategy, targets, and timing with Truman and other top officials. The first bomb dropped on Hiroshima, then Nagasaki. The world changed forever. But after Nagasaki, Marshall made a decision that's often forgotten. He was the one who instructed Groves to halt the bombing effort. No more bombs would be dropped. Marshall understood the war was ending and further destruction wasn't necessary. This was the ultimate proof of who held final authority. Groves controlled the project's operations, but Marshall controlled when it stopped. So who really controlled the Manhattan Project? The answer is both, and neither could have succeeded without the other. Groves was the builder. Marshall was the protector. Together, they created the weapon that ended the war and changed human history forever. So now you know the truth. Groves built the weapon. Marshall protected the mission. One couldn't succeed without the other. History often credits just one man, but this story reveals something deeper. Real power isn't always visible. It operates in shadows, behind closed doors, through trust and delegation. The Manhattan Project wasn't controlled by one general. It was controlled by two men who understood their roles perfectly. And that's what changed everything.